say change the iOS instead of upgrade or downgrade because this is the same procedure you're taking. First thing we want to do is to change the network adapter settings, the IP address on your NIC on the laptop or PC you'll be using. Go into the local area connection for the NIC. Go to properties. Select the TCP IP version 4 properties. And we want to manually enter an IP address. I'm going to use 192.168.1.1 with a 24-bit subnet mask. So that's 255.255.255.0. Click OK. And this is the same IP address that will be used on the TFTP server to transfer the files back and forth between the PC and the router. Now we need to go into our firewall settings of Windows. I'm going to turn off the firewall settings because if you fail to do so, then Windows firewall will prevent the connection between the router and the PC. Or if you want to do this with a switch or firewall, same thing, it'll prevent it. So you want to turn that off. Alright, we're going to open up my hyperterminal. I've used TerraTurn, and I have a serial to USB converter connected to the console access port of the router. And we're just going to say no to this because we don't want to go into the configuration dialog box. And I'm actually in the router at this time. I'm just going to get past a few things so that we can enter the information that we actually need. Let's go ahead and go into exec mode and privilege mode. And let's take a look at our flash. dir flash : shows us the size of the flash, name of the flash, and that's going to be very important. That's the flash that we presently have on the router. Let's take a look at our interfaces. Show IP interface brief. We can see that all interfaces are down on the router. The interface that I want to use for the connection is going to be the FA0/0. So I want to go into global config mode, and then I'm going to go into the FA0/0 interface. And now let's place an IP address on the interface. And we want to make sure that we place an IP address that we'll place it on the same subnet as the TFTP server or the NIC card. So I'm using 192.168.1.2 with a subnet mask of /24, so that's 255.255.255.0. And now let's bring up the interface with the no shutdown command. So we are enabling the interface at this time. And voila, we have notifications that the interface is up. Let's exit out of the interface. Take a look at the flash again. And I apologize for the interruptions and notifications. I'm trying to keep the video as short and straight to the point as possible, which I should have entered the command to keep the notifications from interrupting the typing. I'm going to bring up the TFTP server. I'm using SolarWinds TFTP server. Growing quite fond of that. I have another TFTP server, TFTP64, but I'm using SolarWinds at this time. I've grown quite fond of it. We want to make sure that it starts. We see that the start button is gray, which means that it has started. You can look in the log at this time to see where it is started. we already have added the IP address of the NIC interface card. Um, in the gray areas where you see it, you will have, if you had a clear box up front, up top, you will have to double click on the IP address that you're going to use for the NIC card in the PC. And I just demonstrated that for you, and I'm going to take that right back out. SolarWinds TFTP server is very easy to use. Here is where all of our files will be stored. SolarWinds will pull and place files in the TFTP root folder that was created by default when I installed the program. Sorry, got a little tongue tied there. In fact, let's take a look at that folder. I want to show you exactly where that folder is. And you see here TFTP-root, and I've already placed some images here that I plan to use. These are the images that I'm going to be using to upgrade a couple of switches in my lab as well as the routers. And also, when I back up the image from the switches or router, it's going to place those files in there as well. Let's just take a look, make sure that our interface is up, because before we get started, we don't want to run into a problem where things are not working. So we're just going to verify some things. IP interface brief shows us that the interface is up, and let's just do a ping to see if this is successful. We're going to ping the 192.168.1.1 and 192.168.1.2. As you can see, both of those pings were successful. So we have the connectivity, and if you wanted to, you could also ping from your command line in Windows. So we're going to do the same thing there, ping the 1.1 and the 1.2, and we can see that that's totally successful. So everything should be good to go at this point. So let's get started. Let's go back and take a look at the flash, because we're going to need the name of the flash. I've already performed some earlier upgrades to a couple of other routers that I have here. Going to enter the command, copy the flash to the TFTP server. And as you can see, I've already entered the name there from previously using the TFTP server and Terra term. But in case that wasn't there, then you go up and right click, highlight the name or select the name and right click to copy it, and then enter the name of the TFTP server, which is also, enter the IP address of the TFTP server, which is also the IP address of the network interface card. The destination file name, we want that to remain the same. And I'm going to skip past this because it takes a very long time, so I fast forwarded the video for time purposes. As you can see, everything has been copied. You see those exclamation points like that? The copying is taking place. So if it takes a little while, don't worry, just sit back, hold tight, let it do its thing. It means that everything is going according to plan. And sometimes it could take about 4 or 5 minutes. I think my transfer took a total of about 4 or 5 minutes, probably 5 minutes top. Let's take a look and see, did it actually place that file there in the folder that we talked about earlier? And yes, there it is at the top. So we have backed up the iOS that's presently on the router. And you can also see in the log at the bottom in the SolarWinds TFTP server, you can see the messages taking place where it put the file in the folder. You see the word put. Alright, now we're going to copy the TFTP flash. We're going to copy from the TFTP to the flash. So from that folder to the router, or the flash of our router. Enter the IP address of the TFTP server. I'm going to copy the name of the image that I want to place on the router. which is the easiest way to do it, because now the router wants to know what's the name of the file that you want to use. What's the name of the name you want to give the file when it's there? And I'm using the same name. And I'm going to skip past this because this can take another 4 to 5 minutes, which is extremely long for the video. And you can see in the log of the TFTP server SolarWinds that it's getting the file. So one was a put and this one is a get. And you can see exactly where it's placing the file and the name of the file. You see the path, the C:\TFTP root, and then the name of the file. And we just fast forwarded a little bit for time purposes. And it's complete. And so now we want to verify that this is complete. And we do this by taking a look at the flash, dir flash colon. And since I had enough room, we actually have both files. Usually you'll get a message that asks you, do you want to erase the image that's presently there? I like when it does that, but since I have enough room, it placed both of them there. But I don't want both there, so I'm going to get rid of one of them. So let's enter delete, and then let's copy the name, select the name of the image that I want to get rid of. We right click to copy it, hit enter. It's going to ask us to confirm, and just got rid of the one that I don't want. So now we've reclaimed that space that it was using. Let's check and make sure, and we see we only have one image now. Now we can just reload the switch and all is well. And it's going to confirm our reload, and that'll do it. The iOS change, iOS upgrade or download is complete. And so now you've added another skill to your arsenal. You are even more prepared to deal with your career in networks as a network analyst or a network engineer.